And I remember it being December, and it was just cold.
Yeah.
Like 2 degrees. I got like 4 layers of clothes on. And my foreman has me lifting stuff that I had no business lifting. And I remember telling him, maybe you think I'm a big guy. Dude, this is just layers, it's cold.
Yeah.
And still young, immature, so I would get myself laid off.
So you mean you'd
I would literally show up, at a diner. If I had to be there at 7, I'd be in the diner at 6.
Yeah.
And I would deliberately show up late, and I would get laid off. And my poor brother would get phone calls from the local, what's going on?
Yeah.
And my brother's like, I don't know. I asked my brother. He said everything, was fine. He just got laid off. And then after like the 4th company, it was kind of like, you've gotten laid off so many times. What's going on? And I said, I don't know. And I would unload trucks at night to actually make a check for the company he worked for. And you're unloading heavy material in New York City. Like the sheetrock out there is, 12 foot by 4 foot boards taped, and you're unloading that all day. Your arms are numb. And I went on one of the deliveries, and they have all these fancy dolly equipment and files, and everything's light and it's clean, it's air conditioned or it's heated. I said, I'm never going back. And he managed to get me a job at the company he worked for. And
what company was that?
They're no longer in business. It was a company called L&D. And just to circle back of, trial and error, and, I had almost every teacher in that apprenticeship school tell me, this isn't for you. You need to go and do something else. Doesn't seem like you know how to use the tools. It's pretty awkward, and coming from where I came from, it hurts, right?
Yeah.
When your teacher is like, this ain't for you. And, that's how I got into this business.
Dude, we all have the best time ever to start a small business.
If I'm not going to be 100% in, I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man, just be yourself.
Yeah, and
just show up as yourself.
If you don't realize what I'm really about, I'm about freedom, family, and my country. James, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Thankfully, to Mike and Jar of Hope, we were able to connect. It's a little bourbon tasting that Mike and Jar of Hope put together. You happened to be there. You were donating some money, and Mike had introduced us and said, hey, this guy's got a great story. He should be on Fireside. And I hear that a lot now.
Okay.
And you gotta vet it, right? I think most of the time we're booked at least 2-3 months out, and that's kind of where we stop booking. So you're like, yeah, okay, what's the story? Because I just want to change it up. Not that I'm better than anybody, and I want to try to give everybody a chance, but, it's late. I got a family. Instantly started talking to you. I was like, I like this guy. And everything that Fireside embodies, you have, and your story is extremely unique. The biggest thing for the viewers who watch this on your end, for them to get an understanding of the show, it's about getting into business and turning around and helping the next guy or gal in line. And we were talking about it prior to getting on camera. There were people throughout your life, whether it was subtle things or bigger things, that helped you, as well as really how you got into this business full time. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But you were somebody who had a little bit of a troubled youth, right?
Yes.
To say the least. Lost your father young, was raised by your mother. She had some of her own personal issues. Found yourself in foster care at 13 years old. Your older brother found out, thankfully, a year and a half later, and scooped you up, and then you went and were raised by your brother and your brother's wife, I'm assuming.
Yes. Well, not wife at the time. I think it was a fiance.
Fiance.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
And you guys just went to work, and you were hard workers, and you ran into these opportunities. So your story is something that you don't realize. You're inspiring a kid that's in the foster care system now thinking, I'm just going to become a number and a stat, right? Or you're inspiring somebody else that didn't walk that exact path, but they walked a similar path. So again, I really appreciate you being here. You're the type of person I definitely want on the show. I want to hear your story. I want to talk a little bit about your business. I think you're much smarter than you lead on. And again, just really appreciate you being here. So cheers.
Well, thanks for having me.
Got my water tonight with you.
Yeah, I got water.
So damn hot lately.
Yeah.
So tell us, the name of your business and really what the basis of it is.
We're McGinley Transportation Systems, MTS, in short. We provide office furniture delivery and install. We build out a lot of commercial spaces, tri-state area, New York City, Jersey. We do a little work outside the state, out in Boston, Virginia, North Carolina. It's really what the client is in need for. And that's it. So it's all the office furniture no one pays attention to. It's almost like a niche. You go to an office, you're not paying attention to who brought all those 400, 500 trading desks in or built out 3 floors of offices. But, it's us. That's our niche, and that's our business. I mean.
So coming up, you lived in Staten Island.
Yep.
Right? Born and raised. Were you guys always looking to get into the Carpenters Union? Like, how did that whole journey start?
Growing up in the childhood you have, you're just going and moving along. And, you just think you're going to get older and you're going to find a job and you're going to go to work like everybody else. Your expectations are low. You're not thinking of owning a house. You're not thinking of having a nice car. You're thinking of getting a 1-bedroom apartment. Maybe I used to say when I was younger, and I repeated all the time, it's like, if I could just make $500 a week, I feel like, and back then with rent, and I can rent a 1-bedroom, $1,000 a month, and I'll have a nice car, and that, that's my life. But when you come from that, you think that's making it, right?
Yeah.
And then as you...
Limiting beliefs.
Exactly. And you, so even with all the childhood upbringing and, my mom, that it definitely had to be a mental illness thing because it was a rough childhood. And, I hear some people talk about how, you grew up in a poor family. And a poor family, that sucks too. That's hard. But usually, if they were lucky enough, they would have that one parent that's, showing them support and love regardless of the financial situation.
A foundation as a young kid.
And we didn't have that either.
Yeah.
So you didn't have, we were poor, you didn't have money, you didn't have a great upbringing. So you kind of you're going through the motions and you're just forced to grow up a lot earlier than most people.
And you kind of lose your childhood, your innocence.
Yeah, and we didn't grow up in the greatest area. I mean, it was Staten Island, it was a lot of Section 8 housing, right? So you're surrounded, you're not a victim, but I would say just a product of your environment and the expectations of what you see around you. And, you think, like I said, 500, 700, like owning a house is just not even you're not even thinking about it. You think only rich people can own houses. You think I wasn't born into that, or my parents, didn't leave me that. They're not going to help me with that. And you're kind of on your own. But, as you proceed, and my brother doing what he did for me, I mean, I moved
Talk about that story real quick, because I think that's a good story for people to hear and understand
Imagine I moved in with my brother permanently when I was about 13. There was some, my mother with the mental illness.
Speak about the story you told me earlier, though, with going into foster care, him not really being aware of it.
So he, he basically went, this is how bad it was. He basically went to school one day, came home, and my mother had taken me, like I said, and I think it was for legal issues, the reason why she took me, because it would have been illegal, and moved. And he came home to a house that, we didn't take any furniture or anything. It's just, the following day, the lights are off. He doesn't have phone numbers, cell phones, it's different. It's not as easy to track somebody down. And he was homeless for a little while. And then, he had found a job, got on his feet. Believe it or not, I think he bought a house. I think he was 19 when he bought his first house. And my 13th birthday came around. He finally, I think, tracked us down or had some sort of correspondence with my mom. And he bought me this expensive bike that only, rich kids would have. And we'll circle back to that. It was stolen twice in the neighborhood. Because I didn't know any better, right? Yep. We moved to a bad neighborhood, and I didn't know you couldn't leave your bike in front of your house. So that's another story. And he bought me this bike, and he calls my mom, and he's like, hey, listen, it's 13th birthday. It's a big deal. I've been saving, and I want to bring him this bike. And she said, I'll take you to him. And he said, what are you talking about? And he got the details. They got into an argument. He forced her to take me back. Maybe a week, maybe 3 days. I just remember him showing up. And like I said before, timelines are hard when you're scarred
so
like
much
that.
Trauma.
I've learned to just put it behind you and move forward. I got my own family now, God bless. And showed up with some garbage bags and said, throw your shit in the garbage bags and let's get the fuck out of here. So then I move in with him, but now he's a worker, right? So he's working 100 hours a week.
You're still 13 with like little supervision.
I'm a kid. Yeah, no supervision. So guess what? I don't go to school.
Yeah.
I stopped going to school freshman year of high school, dropped out. obviously, well, you don't get dropped out. Eventually, you just stop showing up, and you're just not on that list anymore.
You went away.
Yeah. So now, at multiple times, unfortunately, too, I would get into so much trouble, and that by not being there. So when you have to have your parent come up.
Yeah.
So I remember Port Richmond High School. I'm in detention, and you had to bring a parent because that's how bad it was. And he's sitting next to me, and he's looking over at me and going, "Listen, this can't go on. I'm missing out on money. I could have worked overtime tonight. I don't know what you're doing. You just got to try to get your life together." And he gets yelled at because they think he's a student, right? Because he's 6 years older than me, and he looks like a student. And I just remember him looking at the lady and going, I don't even go here.
Yeah.
I'm only here because this one doesn't want to come to school.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, you cut 6 times. Why'd you even go? You should just stayed home.
Yeah. Get a job.
Yeah. Well, long story short, I started working at night in the city, Friday night into Saturday morning for a moving company that he got me the job with because he was the general foreman in that building. Mm-hmm. And I remember working Friday night to Saturday, and my friends are working at McDonald's, and they're paying me well just for Friday night and Saturday, and I'm making a week. What I make on that Friday night to Saturday was like what my friends would have to make
5
in
days,
a whole
6
week.
days, yeah.
And then you see the money, and then it circles back to low expectations, and I'm like, I'll just do this. I'm not going to school.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much bills are, a mortgage and stuff like that. And so I kind of fell into it. But once again, to circle back, so imagine that, raising a 13-year-old kid,
brother.
And you're just trying to figure it out, right? And obviously he had a great work ethic. I mean, he's a beast.
Yeah.
And everything I've learned to this day.
And your brother's first name again?
George.
George. And George is your partner with your other partners in MTS.
Yes, and that's how I got into this business. It was actually, I was trying to apply for jobs, and I couldn't get jobs, and I think he didn't want to bring me on because he felt, and he always said, to circle back to a famous quote, wasted talent. Mm-hmm. And he would always say, listen, and I have ADHD, and I'm dyslexic. Mm-hmm. So he would always say, just, you're so smart, that this isn't for you. Could do so many bigger things, and this is great what I do, but there's opportunity. You're young, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Go to college. At one point, he was trying to pay me to go to school.
Yeah. Isn't that so funny that someone like your brother, who is starting to hit some stride in his career and making some good money, was still telling you to go back to college?
Yeah.
And that's the bullshit that's pounded into people's head. Like, hey, people go to college wealthy. And again, if you want to go to college, if you have a specific trade that you're looking to go into, and or you want to be a doctor, teacher, lawyer, things that need degrees, by all means, go do it, and you can make a ton of money.
Absolutely.
If you're very immature and you want to buy some more time and you want to take on that $100,000 bill, by all means, go do it. But it does not mean that that's going to help you become wealthy. It's actually the other way around. The most wealthy people, the most millionaires that are out there, are the people that probably never finished fucking high school, let alone college.
Yes. And opportunity finally came around where he can get me into the Carpenters Union. And the deal was, you got to go get your GED. And go get your GED, and you're in.
Did the Carpenters Union help you with that?
No. So first, I'll never forget. So if you don't ace the practice GED test, I got like a 98. Mm. They say you have to go to a school. We don't like to pass anyone unless you get like a 99 or above.
That was in the city. Yeah, they have like a program in the city.
Yeah, so I go. And I'm like, I kind of feel like that still would have passed by a lot. And I will never forget going there, and I'm sitting in the class, and no offense against whoever was in there, they needed to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
And what they were teaching, I'm like, I'm done. And then I found out you have to wait till you're 19.
Yeah.
You could take the GED test, and that's what I did. I went, I took it, I passed, had my little graduation in his kitchen. When it comes in the mail, you open it up, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. No cap and gown.
Did he give you a cap and gown?
Yeah, but still. But to me, I felt that it was an accomplishment. Number one, I didn't go to a full 4 years of high school. Yeah. This test is based on what you teach in 4 years of high school. And I did a really good, I got a great score. I got through it, and that was it. I got into the Carpenters Union apprenticeship, and that was it. It was history. I got into actually, no, he didn't get me a job right away into office furniture. Mm-hmm. He wanted me to really get a reality check. And
now a lot of union carpenters, go and build these furniture structures you're talking about around the city and all over, but especially in the city.
Yeah, so furniture installation, falls under, like, you know how different unions have different, you know, what they do.
Yeah.
Office furniture falls onto the Carpenters Union in New York City and New Jersey. So that's what he was doing. But at first, I got in as an apprentice. I started off in high rises and concrete, and I remember it being December, and it was just cold, like 2 degrees. I got like 4 layers of clothes on. And my foreman has me lifting stuff that I had no business lifting. And I remember telling him, maybe you think I'm a big guy. Dude, this is just layers, it's cold.
Yeah.
And still young, immature, so I would get myself laid off.
So you mean you'd
I would literally show up. I would show up at a diner. If I had to be there at 7, I'd be in the diner at 6.
Yeah.
And I would deliberately show up late, and I would get laid off. And my poor brother would get phone calls from the local. You know, what's going on?
Yeah.
And my brother's like, I don't know. I asked my brother. He said everything, you know, was fine. He just got laid off. And then after like the 4th company, it was kind of like, you've gotten laid off so many times. What's going on? And I said, I don't know. And I would unload trucks at night to actually make a check for the company he worked for. And you're unloading heavy material in New York City. Like the sheetrock out there is, you know, 12-foot by 4-foot boards taped, and you're unloading that all day. Your arms are numb. And I went on one of the deliveries, and they have all these fancy dolly equipment and files, and everything's light and it's clean, it's air conditioned or it's heated. I said, I'm never going back. And he managed to get me a job at the company he worked for. And
What company was that?
they're no longer in business. It was a company called L&D. And just to circle back of, you know, trial and error, and, you know, I had almost every teacher in that apprenticeship school tell me, this isn't for you. You need to go and do something else. Doesn't seem like you know how to use the tools. It's pretty awkward, you know, and coming from where I came from, it hurts, right?
Yeah.
When your teacher is like, this ain't for you. And, you know, that's how I got into this business, to answer your question.
And you had something to prove, right? You were listening to these people, background that you had, sitting there. And I got to go back quick to the GED.
Yeah.
So Brick, if I remember this right, but Brick kicked me out, but then they offered me the GED program, which was also back at Brick at night. So I was going back to the same school that they just kicked me out of. I walk into this classroom, and they got like this little Italian guy. He was cool right off the bat, and super squared away. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? He ended up being like, he was an FBI guy, and now he was over at the base in McGuire listening to phone calls, you know, so if you say things like CIA or other stuff, you know, all the reasons why they probably watch me, they would listen in on the phone calls. And I end up like just loving this dude. I actually seen him years later out at Patio Bar like a few times over the summertime. He was still down here. And but I just remember those classes and going like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on with these people? And it would be like, you know, and no, dude, no disrespect to anybody who says, I want to go back and fix my education. But there was like 55-year-olds in there. Like, dude, if you made it this far without the GED, isn't that important? But maybe they had bigger aspirations to go back to college because they were always told college.
Yeah.
So, again, anybody out there that, and to be very, very frank, I always thought I passed the GED and finished, but I was supposed to go do something else to get it.
Yeah.
But it never even fucking mattered with what I was doing, so I don't even really know if I fully got the GED.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, I really don't. Like,
I don't
it
even
never
know what
mattered.
mine is.
Did a job ever say like, hey, give me your high school diploma or give me your GED? No one asked. So I just rolled with it. And I was very ashamed of it for a long time, especially going into the finance business. You know, I was like, I went to county college, you know, like I would just like kind of make up a little fib about it because I was so embarrassed. But over the years, when I think about it and the success that I had in finance and still continue to have, like, no one has ever asked me where I went to college. Obviously, a lot of them see this shit now, and I talk about this openly, but not one person has ever asked me where I went to college, let alone, let me see your high school diploma or GED. So, little nugget out there. If you're somebody who doesn't like school, you didn't finish school, your life's not over. Not that many people care. It's all in your head. And again, going back to those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's in your head. You just feel a lot of other people are better than you, whether you come from, education. And then to circle back to, you know, my brother's comments of going to college now, he would say, just go to college. And you know what? If you don't like it, then you can come back and you come work here. But like, I guess he wanted for me more than he got.
Yeah.
And he was like, you could still go out and go to college and go to drinking parties and, hang out and experience that. And yeah, if you don't like it, you come back. But, young, dumb, think you know it all, your own path. And I was definitely a handful. Yeah. I do give people a lot of shots in my current company because I was such a handful.
Yeah.
I do believe, second chances, sometimes third chances, based on how much people work. I have an employee right now I actually call every day at 5 a.m. because he shows up late all the time. It's one of the best employees we have. The kid cannot get to work on time for anything.
Yeah.
And everyone says, why do you call him? I'm like, I've been that guy, right?
Yeah.
I've been that guy that showed up late for work. But when I was at
work... That's the heart
work,
in you.
Yeah, when I was at work, I outworked everybody. But, stupid stuff. Helping someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, while you're here, this is all about turning around. And it's great to have some of the big names on that I did, and they give us additional eyes. And all that stuff comes with, the social media game. But it's guys like you, your story, that really impacts the regular people. The reel we put out today for Evan, if you haven't seen Evan, our videographer and co-creator of this whole entire thing, his statement today was like, hey, the regular guy starting a power washing company, oddly enough, that is, trying to bring his company from 200 to 500 and just bring home 250, that's really the American dream, because that guy has freedom, right? Yes. A lot of times freedom is not, I'm worth $10 million. I have freedom. I work in this fucking yard every day, or I work wherever the hell I want to be. That is freedom. I made it, right? I don't have to get to 10 million. Now, I'll never stop because I got a bigger mission, right? Same reason why you're still grinding and you got a lot of great things going on, right? But what else would I do with that? I'd probably get in trouble, right?
That's what I would
find
say.
trouble.
Yeah.
So, again, no matter where you came from, how it happened, what happened, you're a big testament to, dude, you can go and do it. So, fast forwarding the story a little bit more, you start working with your brother. When does it come into you guys want to start your own company? What did you start to see? Again, because you're very intelligent, street smarts, you're able to go crank off numbers when we were talking before.
It was going above and beyond for a client, not looking at the clock. A lot of guys in the union world, and it's nothing against them. That's what you're supposed to do. 2:15, that's it. You wrap up, you're gone. You get a lot of times in the commercial furniture industry, like these people are in meetings. They don't leave till 5. You've been there, right? It's 5 o'clock is then. Just making sure the company we currently worked for was meeting their expectations. And what we would get is a complaint from like someone we were working for, and going, "Hey, listen, you hung out at the job for like 2 hours." Yeah. Well, I didn't put any time in. Well, why'd you do that? Well, our on-site contact was in a meeting, and she had said, "Please, I need to. There's a lot of stuff I need to go over with you for tomorrow, because they show up at 9, and we're showing up at 7, and I just want to review that to make sure everything's fine." And like certain stuff like that, and like to me,
blows people's minds.
Yeah, but as an owner, like if one of my guys was doing that, number one, you're getting paid for it. Which we yell at guys that do that. Like, all right, no, we're not that company. We changed the narrative. And because I've been on the other end of that, I don't want you to feel that, like you're going the extra mile. You should be compensated for it.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide it, and little things like that. You develop relationships, and to start with, like you're your own personal brand, and that's any business.
Yeah.
So you develop these relationships with certain clients where they only want to see you, and when you're not there or running their project, huge difference. They're not happy.
Where's James? Where's James?
Yes. Where's James?
This ain't going right.
Yeah,
where's George? I don't want to deal with this guy.
Yeah, and I don't like this and I don't like that. And to the clients, sometimes they're like, well, you can't get James till next week. All right, well, we'll postpone the project till next week. And then it
creates
develops a friction with your boss, right? Because now he starts getting conscientious. And he starts, like, not conscientious, just like,
well, he
what's
starts
going
thinking
on
dollars and cents.
Yeah, what's going on here? He has a great relationship with this. Now I have to deal with this kid if I want this client forever.
Yeah.
And then certain things are just bad business practices that we would notice, and it was just, we have a conscience because, once again, I agree, like everything I have in life is from doing the right thing. I believe in karma, God. You do the right thing, that stuff comes back. You do the wrong thing, Same thing.
Yeah.
It's coming back. You
Yeah.
could have a really
Somewhere,
bad day.
somehow, some way.
Yes, and so we tried to do the right thing, and change orders we would chose to write up. We would have to call the office, and you're staring at two guys, you and say two guys that day, and there was some delays, and you would call your boss and be like, yeah, I'm writing a change order up, and he's like, all right, I want you to put down, 7 carpenters. 7. There's only 3 of us here.
Yeah.
I don't care, and you're gonna put it through, and you're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm writing 3. That's what we're doing, and friction.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, it was like June, we were having the biggest year that we ever would have had. I mean, I think he was at about 98,000 in June. I was also maybe about 80,000, plus the fringe benefits and all that comes with it. And it was a terrible timing. He had just bought a house. He had 2 kids. I just got engaged. I was saving up for a wedding that I had to pay for, a big wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I made that mistake, the 200-person wedding.
Yeah.
And me and my wife were paying for that ourselves. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And we went out, got a ton of business, did such a great job that we got overwhelmed with work, and payroll is super expensive and you can't be everywhere. And we ended up having to basically outsource that work, take less of a profit to grow. And years and years turned on and on and on. And then we ended up at MTS. We were given an opportunity of ownership.
Were you working for MTS before that
No,
came
so
up?
MTS would be hired basically as a delivery-only company, meaning at the time it was structured, the product would ship to their warehouse, they would deliver it to site, we'd take it from there.
So
Okay.
they're delivering it over, you're
Yeah.
still building.
They're doing no installs. MTS is Teamster bonded. Installation in New York City is Carpenters Union, right? So if you wanted to separate it, you could say union-wise, right? So MTS is Teamsters, and the installation company was us, and we would outsource it.
Is MTS still in the Teamsters?
Yes, MTS 560 and the Carpenters Union's all kind of one now. They're different locals, but it's all ran under one umbrella.
My Uncle Val helped run the Teamsters for
Teamsters?
Wake Firm.
Okay.
Wake Firm and ShopRite,
Okay.
truck drivers.
Yeah, and they're
warehouse.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I didn't know how big the Teamsters were. And you go to Vegas, everybody's a Teamster.
Yeah.
The bartender, I believe, is a Teamster. My wife has a cousin that bartends out there.
Mm-hmm. The unions knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. Yeah, he's a bartender. He's got a pension. He's got a medical plan. So
Vacation?
imagine all that out here and never go on.
No.
But out there, it's Vegas.
Yeah.
They technically, as long as the movies are correct,
Yeah.
they funded and built that place. So they've got the winning hand in the
Yeah.
end, right? A lot of Teamsters. And that's basically how I met Peter McGinley, who was the founder of MTS, and his wife, Claudia. And great relationship. I mean, in the trenches together. I'll never forget, we did a lot of schools one summer. And me and him would be in there like 4 a.m. at the warehouse. 4 a.m., we're at the warehouse and we're figuring shit out. We were building out a ton of schools out in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And you're talking like trucks are everywhere, guys are, me and him are just figuring this out. And he had the same business, like how he looked at business. And this is a guy that, like I said, he started delivering refrigerators. He had nothing to do with furniture. Mm-hmm. And his story is a whole nother, American dream story.
Yeah. What to get him back on?
Yeah. And him over the same thing, over the course of 35 years, maybe 4 install companies, he started, right? Because he had the warehouse, he had the trucks, and eventually the installation company would get so big, they would go out and get their own trucks and kind of put them to the side, and he would lose. And all this time, he's building up someone else's business. So now he's been doing it, like the company's been open about 35 years. And number one, to keep going with that, calls us for a meeting, and we just thought we were just gonna have some breakfast. And, we always joked about it, like, yeah, maybe we should get together. The conversation got brought up, and this is over the years of, putting payroll through somebody else. And I said, well, if we're gonna do it, and you could say no, and I would respect that. You built that business, me and my brother, and we discussed, we would want half the company.
Talk about that real quick,
Yeah.
and then we're going to have to go to a break.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Let's go to a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about the payroll and why
Okay.
it's important to not build someone else's company. So I think that's a great nugget.
Okay.
Be right back. Taking a quick break in the podcast, I want to talk about the Pit 2.0. What is the Pit 2.0? It's made up of a huge network of people across all different industries that are solving problems, creating solutions, and also bringing together a lot of marketing and sales idea. If you want to get into a Pit group like this, it's very inexpensive, $147 a month. If you want to learn more about it, check out the links and the information below. So jumping back in, payroll, right? And you said something to me earlier, and I really tried to get out those nuggets for people watching and learning. You were building someone else's company, and at some point, you and your brother were like, you know what? I'm done building someone else's company. So first explain how you were and why you looked at it that way, and then why it's so important to bring that payroll onto your own books.
So, well, number one, we were forced into it, right? Because, who has a couple $1 million hanging around? When you do it the way we did it, the company that's willing to cover that payroll for you isn't going to say, all right, you're good for it, we'll send you an invoice. They're going to say it's a $1.5 million project. That purchase order needs to get cut to us, meaning the company that I'm running the payroll through, they get the purchase order. Technically, the client's paying them. The only reason that would be considered one of our clients is just because of that client relationship.
Yeah.
And I just felt, you're building someone else's business. And when I go to retire one day, which will probably be never, because I'm sick in the head and I always want to do something else, right? You seem like the same way.
Power washing company.
Yeah, power washing company all of a sudden we're doing now. You walk away with nothing, right? And you built somebody else's, maybe even a portion. I'm not saying all, but you're building a portion and you broke your ass for years.
Yeah.
To end up with nothing, and not even like an opportunity, like you were talking about. A guy that's been in business X amount of years and he's looking to cash out, right? That's not even the conversation because I'm not an owner of the company that the PO is being cut to, and that's why the ownership of MTS was everything. And when they accepted that, I felt stressed. Number one, right? Because I was doing very well. Right, and don't get me wrong, like doing all that, we were doing well.
Of course.
In the house, we paid for things, and my family's on vacation, and retirement accounts, and it wasn't about the money, and me and my brother would talk about it and be like, we do have a lot of, you would learn to be grateful for everything.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you come to a decision where, should I be grateful for what I have, which is way more than I ever thought I would achieve, or do you go farther, right? I mean, do you take it to another level where now you're building what I call like a legacy, right? So now I'm an owner of this company, meaning when I go to retire, it's either, all right, you forfeit your operating agreement, whatever you're taking, but your percentage of ownership is still there.
Yeah.
And do you sit back and is that your pension, or because now it's a conversation.
Check, yeah.
And
I think a lot of people do that, especially if it's commission based or they pay you in bonus or whatever it is and how they pay you. If the money's good, I think that keeps a lot of people at bay and they don't take the equity. Anytime you can get on the cap table, anytime you can own equity in a business, that especially that you're working in, right, and driving revenues into it, you should own a piece of equity, even if it's small, 5, 10%.
Something.
Because that's going to continue to grow. As you work harder, you build those relationships. Wow, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to be 50 now, and now I don't have something that's sellable. I don't have something that's going to give me a pension or something like that.
Exactly.
We talked about seller financing earlier, right? So maybe someone comes in and they say, hey, George, hey, James, you guys can go kick it on the beach somewhere with your families. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars a year. We'll pay you 10% on the loan rate. And now you got mailbox money showing up. You're the most expensive mailman.
Yes.
But you got mailbox money showing up guaranteed for the next 10 years because they're buying you out of that business. It was that equity that you owned. So for all the young ones out there, always try to have equity. Again, it doesn't mean you need to have 100. You don't need to have 80. You made a point earlier too. You look at the biggest of companies, and again, we're talking billions and trillions now, but they own 1.5%, 2%, 5%.
Yeah.
So, good move by you and your brother, obviously. So, I want to dive a little bit more into the meat and potatoes of the business because as I talk to you, yes, you have ADHD. as do I. You're dyslexic. I could barely read and write, until probably like 5 years ago, and I still can't write that well.
Same.
That doesn't mean you're not intelligent. And a guy said to me years ago, you can't judge a fish's intelligence on its ability to climb a tree. And I was like, well, that really makes sense. So talking about your business and the little things that you do, the velocity of the chair. We don't have to go into any specific job, but you're somebody that's coming in, you're building this furniture, but you're also a liquidator for these large companies.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're allowed to talk with one of the companies you're working with currently.
I don't. It's one of those emails that I would have to ask, and it never gets answered.
Yeah.
But I would say you're talking. The companies we're working for are all publicly traded, probably considered one of the biggest companies that we're working for, like I would say in the world. These are major law firms, financial firms, equity firms. Yeah, and so their expectations are really high. Mm-hmm. And not many people realize how much office furniture costs on a custom level. So we built out a recent law firm, and you're talking $60,000 an office, mm-hmm. all in with the D&I. Mm-hmm. So when you're doing that mock-up, that walkthrough, that final walk, you built out 4 or 5 floors, they get meticulous. Mm-hmm. And
it's a big bill.
Yeah, and it's 3 to 4 different people. You got client reps, right? You got design firms. A lot of people walking prior to the end user, and then when the end user, walks in, they're going to pick apart that stuff too. And what I always tell the guys is, like, if you knew how much this costed, you would take a little extra time and make sure, a lateral drawer is opening correctly. Like, mm-hmm. Just the guy putting his file in, you could be dealing in a managing partner's office of a law firm, mm-hmm. right? Now this guy knows and sees how much was paid, and then he moves in day one and he hits the button on his sit stand and it doesn't go up.
Yeah,
I can see the frustration.
Yeah,
same. And it's that extra 5 minutes.
$60,000 for these things.
Yeah, times. We just built 200 offices. They couldn't get this right, and and it's one of the hurdles. And to bring back how much furniture costs, we work basically in tandem with a general contractor. So while they're finishing the actual construction, we're supposed to bring it in as they're completing. And with construction delays in New York City, we're almost working around them, mm-hmm. meaning there's way too much construction on these jobs. And I always bring up the point, like, I think you need to delay this, and nobody wants to hear a delay, right? Because you office furniture and office space you're paying rent on you can't use.
You want to get people to work. You want a rate of return on the space.
Yeah, and how I categorize it in these conference calls is like, listen, we're talking about a $300,000 conference room table. Like, would you take a $300,000 luxury car and put it up on that job site right now? Absolutely not. I'm like, all right, well, as far as the cost basis, that's what you're asking us to do. You're asking us to bring in this.
And now
custom.
It's nicked up. You're coming back to me when it's
and then
jacked.
If it gets damaged, right away it comes to, the installers must have damaged it. It wasn't documented correctly. Meaning, if we get freight in that comes in damaged, we have to open, inspect it, and file a claim right then and there. You get 48 hours a lot of the times. After the 48 hours, it's on us. So it's either we have to repair it, or we're paying for it.
And this is one of the reasons why you started white glove service for MTS, which is going up to the manufacturers or the distributors that you have access to and inspecting it right there, unpacking it with your personal employees, taking pictures, sending it off, making sure everything's good, and then obviously having that delivered with white glove service right from you guys. That was something you added on recently.
Yeah, it's MTS Freight, and it's less people touching it. You go to a freight broker sometimes, it's going to multiple facilities sometimes, or maybe 1 or 2. So now your freight's getting touched a lot, which that's how damages happen. It's accidents, human error.
ADD's going bad. These choppers are circling, and they've been flying all day, like way different patterns than usual.
It's because Mike's here.
Yeah. I think it's because you're here or me.
I'll be. I don't know. We'll see.
So you saw it as obviously something where you can gain a little bit more revenues, but also stop a problem, which is how much money are you really making? Because if this stuff's coming in, it's damaged, you got to wait, or you don't notice it's damaged, and now it's falling on your balance sheet.
Correct.
And not only are you making the surplus of the new revenues coming in, but it's really where you're saving. What most people don't realize is everybody chases the top side of an exponential curve. So if you got $5 million, you're going to invest that money and take it to $10 million, but there's a risk band there, right, to sharpen the curve. But the bottom side of the curve is the cost, right? So 90% of the iceberg is below water. A lot of times when making money moves or in business, that's the same. So same thing with the power washing company. You gave somebody an opportunity, mobile power washing. First thing you did was said, all right, well, we have 20 trucks. How much are we spending a month on washing these trucks? So the business didn't even make any net revenues to you yet, but you already saved X amount of dollars a month.
Correct.
And a lot of times in business, people don't realize you need to get the velocity on your money of this person, of this piece of equipment, of this intellect. And same thing going back to the liquidation piece for some of these large companies. They're kind of just chucking these chairs out. They're paying you to just get rid of them. They got to get out of that space, right? It's a lot of work to move all that stuff. It's a lot of equipment, gas, manpower, etc. Not only are you doing all of that, you're saying, hey, well, can I sell this off to a liquidator? Somebody else is this furniture in good shape? So you're constantly thinking of different ways that you can get that 2, 3, 4 rates of return on your $1. And in business, especially in personal money as well, when you invest it, most people only think of one rate of return and linear versus how many times can I hit that thing? And that's really what I did with content. That's what we did with this podcast is we created an eco loop and an ecosystem, and we created all these doors for you to walk through and buy some type of product or service from us. And you're doing that really, really well in your business. Talk a little bit more about that, some of the other interesting things you do.
We'll also rent furniture, talking about, and it just came to me, I know I didn't bring it up earlier. So we'll also, if you have delayed furniture, task chairs, conference room chairs, conference room's in, your conference room chair is delayed due to some sort of custom fabric or manufacturing issue. Client's going to move in, there's no chairs, right? So you move into an office, you're going to have a meeting, no one's going to have anywhere to sit. We'll offer rental chairs. So you pay us to deliver them, you rent them per month, and then you get paid for the pickup when the actual chairs come in and you deliver them. But a lot of those chairs came from liquidations. A lot of those chairs, like you said, it's one more level of just turning that same product over and over. We do that. Wood refinishing, we'll do a little bit of that. Preventive maintenance is another one. Like a lot of these open plans in the city, the sofas and the lounge chairs. The cleaning company, they vacuum, they take out your garbage, they're not wiping that out. And ever since COVID, it's a conversation that really goes far. And we have commercial steam cleaning machines. We'll come in and we'll steam clean and literally show you, and we'll take videos of how much dirt and grime we pulled off something that looked immaculate. It looked clean. And in our presentation, when I actually get in front of the client, I'll actually I was telling them baby wipes. And I'll say, you might not think you need this, but look, check this out. And then right then and there, it's like, all right, how do we sign up for this? Can we go monthly? Can we go bi-monthly? And then I'm the opposite of a salesman because I like someone to know I'm being honest. So if they don't need a monthly service, I'll be the one to tell them you need bi-monthly, you don't need monthly. And then dollars and cents, I'm costing us revenue, but in return, I'm getting a relationship with a client where they're going to trust us.
Yeah, now they're buying from you. They want you to install the furniture.
Yes, and they trust me.
They want you to liquidate the furniture.
Yeah, and we're not gouging with pricing because, I'm walking out of meetings telling them how they can save money, but in return, actually maybe decreasing some of that revenue, but you build a relationship, and the relationships are everything. And we were talking about it earlier. It's the phone calls,
Relationship capital, dude. Get on the phone.
Emails and text messages. You ever get a text message and you read it wrong?
Yeah.
And you actually get a little insulted. You're a little mad based on the mood you're in.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen when you're on the phone. You get the tone. There's no misunderstanding. But text, email.
I hate text and email. I rarely will write an email.
Yeah.
It's usually in a quick response to someone on my team or
Yeah.
or to Evan with the Fireside. I rarely write emails. Number one, liability, and someone else has that now and somehow can use it against you somehow, some way. And also that my tonality could definitely come off wrong via text or email.
I'm in the same boat.
So it's better for me to call you up and maybe build up to the harsh thing I have to tell you or the honesty. But I totally get that. So as you go to scale this business, right, you're not done, right? You and your brother seem like your go-getters, your partners also launched another business
Yes.
internally inside MTS that will work in conjunction with one another, kind of
Yes.
as a strategic partner. Talk a little bit about that. And again, that's their business. So
No, absolutely no. So now it's Claudia, which is Pete's wife, and she's not the what I always tell everybody in our meetings. I mean, she's been in this business 35 years. She knows it. She knows a lot. She's been doing this business a lot. I've learned a lot from her, and it's women are minority owned. It does exactly the same thing MTS does, but it pursues opportunities where, you know, a lot of these corporations are supposed to give out X amount of business to minority and women-owned businesses. And she's Cuban, and you know, we've gotten a lot of opportunity that way too.
yeah, but again, just getting creative in what you do. I watch Rob Bailey. He's actually a coach of mine, and he sells apparel. He's got real estate. He does a bunch of stuff, and the angles, the way he teases, the way he reuses the apparel, the way he reshoots it, the way he puts a video to it, the way he puts it out there, like, it is so detailed in how he thinks about how he can maximize his sales with this. That could be applied to anything. Yeah, maybe you're not shooting a picture or a video or how the model looks or this or that, but a lot of us are overlooking these details, these potential partnerships in business that could be extremely lucrative to us. And then again, in the future, maybe become a real partners of yours because you guys are doing so much business together. And it just makes sense to come together like you and your brother and your partners did. But going back to scaling your business and not being done, not so much in your business, but really a testament to you. You know this young gentleman. He's got a power washing company, comes to you looking to potentially sell this van and, you know, close up shop. You said, hey, I remember young, reckless James. Not many people maybe wanted to help me besides my brother at the time. Let me give this guy a shot. So talk a little bit about that situation and what's going on with the power washing.
So he's employed by us as a union carpenter, and he did it as a side business, and he had a partner. The partner kind of flaked out. I think he owed some people some money. The guy just took off, disappeared one day. And he's friends with my wife's best friend, which is like her sister. It's like her cousin. And that's where I heard, and he happens to work for us. And he asked me, he's like, you know anyone that wants to buy this van? It's mobile car washing. I said, mobile car washing? I've seen videos. What's that about? Why don't you bring the van by? I'd love to see this thing. And he comes with the van. It's got its own tank. I think it's like 250 gallons, meaning, you know, you don't have to hook up to somebody's hose.
Yeah.
So that intrigued me a little. The amount of money I've spent personally on power washing my house intrigued me a little. How it all worked, and it was a nice. It's got a lot of miles on the van, but you know, I said, don't sell it. You know, did you like doing it? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, we're gonna change things. You got to be okay with it. And once again, I said, I don't care if you say yes. You're gonna take a week so you can really think this through. Well, why don't we do this legitimately? You didn't have commercial plates. It wasn't in. We made it an LLC, and you had no insurance. And you were, you know, you guys were grinding, but you took the money, you never went back and actually made it legitimate. And what I want to do is I want to do commercial work. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, Speedway, for example, right behind our warehouse. I go in there, you know, can I give you a quote to power wash the sidewalk out in front? You guys could use it. I currently paid somebody, I think $1,000 a month to wash our trucks. So I give it to my insurance guy, I explain to him what I want to do. He comes back with the insurance quotes for this business, and it's actually whatever it was like $5,000 a year for the commercial insurance plus the insurance on the van. And right off the bat, I'm like, all right, we're already in the positive. And I explained this to this kid, Chris, and I said, we're going to do this. You know, we're already ahead. We just got to go out and pound some pavement. And what I'm looking to build with that is commercial accounts. Other companies just like mine. I'm in Elizabeth, so they're everywhere. Commercial clients, limo services, even the limo services, we have a Clorox 360 machine. It's like a disinfectant machine. You know, the Yankees use it, Boston Red Sox, they use it for the locker rooms. And it's not so much cleaning to shine, it's a germ killer. And we're giving them that option. Where, all right, we'll come out, we'll wash the outside of the limos and the buses, and at the same time, we're not gonna wipe down everything on the inside, but you could pay us to do that. But at the same time, we're gonna we're going to use this machine. And that machine we were using during COVID because it was a hot item. And these are, $5,000-$6,000 machines. So that's what we're doing on that. I want to build that up. In a perfect world, maybe 5 vans, team of guys, commercial accounts.
But again, think about the opportunity you're giving Chris.
100%. I wish someone had, listen, everything turned out great for me and my brother, and I thank God for that. And I tell everybody, anyone that says, oh no, I'm like, God's real, man. I can personally, how many bad.
There's no way I should have been here.
Yeah, I've had so many bad situations, and at the time you really are miserable, and you're like, I'm getting picked on, and why is this on me? But it was a reason, right? Because the next thing that came out was better, and so on and so on, and it's easy to say while you're in a good spot, and it's
also easy. And I said this before to get up there in the helicopter, and I mean, giving you a scenario, a concept. I'm up there in the helicopter now. Do I come back down and help all the regular folks, or do I just keep flying to my destination? So do I keep pumping more money in MTS and maybe buying real estate properties with Mike Scalfani, or doing other stuff outside of this business? Or do I really need this couple bucks to maybe turn around and help this guy that can turn into something that's pretty fruitful to me? And I'm also helping this guy out. And, to give myself a shameless plug, that's what Fireside is all about. That's what the pit is all about. I've laid out my personal dollars to turn around and help people, knowing that in the long run, that will make me so much more money than everybody else. And I'm going to have such an impact when I'm long gone. And it's the people that do that. Again, it may be a short step back in the interim, but the long game for you is so long, because Chris is never going to forget.
Yeah.
Your clients don't forget. The other people you're helping out in your world in small ways. And again, not to give anybody's information away, but you were saying, hey, I give some loans to some of my employees at times, right? We've all been there where, cash flow got tight. Maybe the debt's high and your credit cards are maxed out, and something goes wrong in your home and you're tight, and you're the type of guy. It's like, listen, I got you. I don't want your family going without a refrigerator or hot water or whatever it may be. Again, just a true testament to who you and your brother and your partners are. And I think that's going to go a long way. I think it already has.
It already has.
Yeah.
And I always tell everybody, it's good karma. It's doing the right thing. Only good things can come of that.
Yeah.
And we had a couple times where we did that, and the guy took off. We had one guy, we joke about a shaved ice stand in Puerto Rico, because we know we went there.
Yeah.
He came in with a story that his house got flooded and all this stuff, and we had felt bad. It was Christmas time too, which Christmas time you're always looking, especially if you're doing good.
Yeah.
You want to be Chris Kringle. And the guy never showed up back for work, right? Yeah. So, my partner Pete is just like,
I'm never doing this again.
This is crazy. And we're like, maybe we owned a shaved ice stand in Puerto Rico. We don't know, And I took it as, what? We still did a good thing, right? And so what? All right, fine. But, God has a way, he pays it back tenfold. And you do. I could have, we got awarded a lot of big projects that first quarter.
Yep.
And I remember going, look at this. So that $2,500, we just landed a $1.5 million project.
And
that's it.
This is actually something to give Rob Bailey credit again. Recently, in my world, as you're growing in business and you start to get eyes on you, you have people that pick from you, right? And there's takers all over the world. And then you're like, all right, this guy's out, and, maybe that person could be beneficial to you in the future. And what he said to me is, you still operate within your morals and ethics.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what he's going to do or how he's going to do it. You did that because you're a good person, and that's what you want to live by. And a lot of times in the past, I'd be like, all right, fuck that guy. Let's go find him in fucking Puerto Rico and burn his stand down, right? Make sure we put enough gas so the ice doesn't put it out. But then again, what type of joy, happiness, and we all need to realize that. Like, my message recently is, we need to give back. We need to be reciprocal, right? You're in business relationships. Don't just worry about what I'm getting. Turn around and go, hey, James, what do you do? What can I do? We quickly exchanged it between you and I. Hey, you need some more liquidators?
Yeah.
You want to hook up with Roadley Logistics and vice versa. Exchange. Mike is good at it, connecting people.
Yeah.
Evan is giving away free content to young kids right now. I've had a discounted rate in our early years that I don't think I would have been able to afford a $3,000 or $5,000 content bill. So it goes a long way, and you're going to, again, not to be repetitive, you're going to be handsomely rewarded. To round this out, I like to ask a couple questions. Yeah. First question is, if you're telling young James or a girl that was walking a similar path to James, what would you tell them?
Unlimited opportunity out there, but it is going to be a ton of hard work. And I'm not talking, you work hard, I got to lift heavy for 8 hours. I'm talking, you get home at 2 a.m., you're going to take a shower, you might have to sleep 2 hours and get back to work. And that might be repetitive.
No sleep, someone, stress, payroll.
Yeah, but what I've noticed, and it's the more you put in, and the more I hear a little voice, and I always joke when I get to something in a bad situation where I'm working like on a Sunday, or I'm working all these hours. I'm like, nah, it's just God making sure I still got it. He's going, all right, you got a lot of good stuff. There's more coming. You still got it. Yeah. You're getting lazy.
Keeps you centered.
Yeah, you're getting lazy, or maybe I don't think you're going to do it. And I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I mean, my wife calls me crazy and sick, but she knows I do it for my family. And, it's not about me. And once you have kids, it's never about you anymore, And that's what I would say. It is unlimited. You could do anything in this world. I mean, anything.
Seriously.
Anything.
Yeah, the limiting belief thing is so real.
Yeah.
And I always bring it up. You're brought up a certain way. The neighborhood you were in, what you saw was like, the penthouse of Section 8, right? And whatever that looked like. And you're like, man, if I can get that $700 a month. I remember being young and being like, man, I just want to get a job for the town, right? And anybody who works for the town does a great job. You get benefits and all that stuff, and there's no knock on it. But, that was what I looked up and aspired to have, because that would have gave me enough to maybe have a little ranch I rented or I was able to one day own. And now I look back at the impact I've had in the financial world and the income I make, and I'm going, I don't know how I would operate this type of lifestyle I desire to live on that type of income. Imagine I just stopped at that, right? Because I had those jobs, and then it was like, I want to work at Lowe's. As a young kid, I got a job at Lowe's. I could work my way up again, because I'm going back to that limiting belief. I don't have any college. Yeah. Who's going to want me? So the young person out there needs to really understand you could do whatever the hell you want to do.
It's really, and it's America.
Yeah. Exactly. You're not really doing that anywhere else.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
It's
maybe in China once they try World War III, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
Second question and last question I have for you is really some other people you want to give a shout out to, right? People throughout your life, and I'm going to switch this question up a little bit. People throughout your life that helped you with subtle things, people who helped you in business, or another big business owner you want to give a shout out to in your world that may watch this and see this.
Well, number one is Mike. I don't know.
Yeah. Mike gets too many shout outs.
No, it's his whole family, dude.
Yeah.
His wife was my wife's first friend when we moved in. Mm-hmm. And, kind of friendly, and then the kids started getting along. Dude, his entire family, his sister, his father, his mom. I mean, and I tell him all the time he should run for office. Because he has...
He's going to, I'm sure, at one point.
They're just probably one of the greatest families I ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. I feel so at home with them. They're just great people. Obviously, the Carpenters Union, right? I mean, they give you opportunity. They teach you a trade. It's a skill, and there's already a shortage of that, and
yeah. Hopefully that comes back around.
Yeah, and like I said, my partners, and then my brother, slash I used to call him brother slash father, right? Because he took on a lot of responsibility. And there's a lot of clients, and they're corporate clients, so I can't really mention so much their names, but I'll do first names. There's an Elise, there's an Albert. I mean, these are people that put their job on the line for just some random guy that did a good job.
Yeah,
and actually went up to their boss, it could be like the director of construction, and said, no, we're going to change companies, and this kid James, he's a really good guy and does great work. And they would come down and be like, I really put my neck out. Like, I'm not going to forget it.
Don't mess this up.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that's it. And God, I mean, I tell everybody, it's God. I hate those conversations with people like, God can't be this and that. And then I'm just like, don't say it around
Why
me.
did he make this person sick? Or why did that happen?
No, there's reasons for it all.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. And I could say personally that the crap that has gone on in my life, I laugh sometimes out of being
Kinda like, holy
appreciative.
shit,
Just
yeah.
appreciative. Like I pray every morning, like just in the car driving to work, and just so appreciative. Even the car I drive or the house I live in. And
I'll tell you what,
it's
there's
crazy.
You know, not to be religious, but there's some type of
Gotta
religious, spiritual movement that's going on. Like
gotta be.
the Sound of Freedom, this movie that's out, you know, that's talking about kids that are being trafficked. And, you know, to be very blunt, because it's a terrible topic, kids being fucked, you know,
That's
that are
terrible.
5 years old, 10 years old. And that sounds harsh to say, but there's 85,000 kids who came through the border. And most people don't realize that the U.S. government is complicit with that. These kids are coming there already at 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old with bracelets on. The bracelets get scanned, and they have a sponsor somewhere in the U.S., right? A sponsor. Now, back in the day, they used to, I read all about this.
Okay.
Back in the day, they used to bring them in. The person would have to come who's their sponsor, show who they are, make sure it's safe, and then they go off. You know what the U.S. government does now? There's no checks. Or is that person real? Where's the address? And the U.S. government flies them there, sends them on a bus, or takes them there themselves. Right? So do you think that child coming over the border is going to a safe place?
Definitely not.
Right? So seeing this movie have all of the eyes on it that it does, and they're trying whatever they can, pulling fire alarms, canceling tickets, they're trying whatever they can to slow people down from seeing it. But there's a movement in this country, it's like, hey, politics aside, left, right, whatever you believe in, like there's evil in this world and then there's good in this world. So I don't mean to make that just about God, but there's someone pulling those strings.
No,
'cause
it's
you have
going
all
on.
the money, all the power, all the evil in the world up against you, really trying to expose this, right? You know, our government is somehow, some way complicit and involved in this, right? And, you know, we're the wealthiest country, the biggest economy in the world. How do you fight town hall with that? So something bigger is helping expose this. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And if anybody hasn't seen it, you should see the movie.
Oh, definitely.
Really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your story. It's going to be something that sits in my subconscious like a file and tap into, you know, James, you know, and I'm going through something hard and everybody's going to enjoy this. Appreciate you and thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed the podcast and you want to learn more about it, check out the links below.